November 24th, 1971. It's the day before Thanksgiving. Northwest Orient Flight 305 is climbing out of Portland, Oregon, bound for Seattle. The cabin is quiet. Holiday travelers settle into their seats. A flight attendant moves through the aisle, routine, ordinary, forgettable. Then a man in row 18 hands her a note. She assumes it's a phone number. She doesn't read it. He leans forward. "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." And with those 7 words, a man whose real name no one has ever confirmed stepped into the most enduring mystery in American criminal history. He hijacked a plane. He extorted $200,000 from the U.S. government. He parachuted into a Pacific Northwest storm. And then he was gone. Forever. This is the story of D.B. Cooper. The man called himself Dan Cooper when he bought his one-way ticket that morning. He was wearing a black suit, a black tie, a white shirt. He carried a briefcase. He ordered a bourbon and soda. He looked, by every account, completely unremarkable. That was the point. Flight attendant Florence Schaffner read the note. Then she read it again. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it. I want you to sit next to me." She sat. He opened the briefcase just enough for her to see red cylinders, wires, and a battery. Schaffner relayed the demand to the cockpit. Cooper wanted 4 parachutes, 2 military-grade, 2 civilian, and $200,000 in $20 bills. He wanted the money in a bag. He wanted to land in Seattle. He wanted fuel. And he didn't want anyone to do anything stupid. The airline complied. Here's what's important. This man was calm. Not just composed, strategically calm. He didn't threaten to hurt passengers. He didn't wave the bomb around. He ordered food. He drank another bourbon. He tipped the flight attendant. He was, in a word, methodical. The plane landed in Seattle. Cooper let all 36 passengers off the aircraft. He kept 4 crew members. The money, $200,000 in marked $20 bills, photographed and cataloged by the FBI, was handed up in a bag. The 4 parachutes were loaded on board. Then he told the pilots, "Fly to Mexico City. Low altitude, slow speed, flaps down, gear down." And they took off into the night. Somewhere over the Cascade Mountains, in darkness, in rain, in terrain so remote that even the crew didn't know exactly where they were. Dan Cooper strapped on a parachute, tied the money bag to his body, lowered the aft air stairs on the 727, and stepped off into nothing. It was approximately 8:13 p.m. The crew felt a pressure change, a slight bump. When they landed in Reno and authorities swept the aircraft, the man in the black suit was gone. What followed was the largest manhunt in FBI history up to that point. More than 800 agents, military search teams, ground operations across Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. They searched forests. They searched riverbanks. They found nothing. No body, no parachute, no money, no trace. The press called him D.B. Cooper, a mix-up with another suspect early in the investigation, and the name stuck. The FBI renamed the case Norjack, Northwest Hijacking. It became the only unsolved case of air piracy in American aviation history. But here's where the story gets strange. Because the more investigators looked, the more questions they found. Not answers. Questions. Start with the parachutes. Of the 4 parachutes given to Cooper, one of the civilian chutes was a training dummy. Its canopy was stitched shut, useless in a real jump. Cooper took it anyway, alongside one military-grade chute. Why take the bad one? Did he not check? Did he not know? Or, and this is the theory that haunts investigators, did he have a fifth parachute no one knew about? Then there's the money. In 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram was on a family picnic along the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington. He dug up 3 bundles of cash from the riverbank. The bills, decayed, partially eaten by the river, matched the serial numbers of Cooper's ransom money exactly. $5,800 worth. The rest of the $200,000 has never been found, and the location matters. The money was found downstream from where it should have been, based on Cooper's known flight path, which means either the money washed there over years, or Cooper came down much further north than anyone calculated. The FBI interviewed thousands of suspects over 5 decades. Over 1,000 individuals were formally investigated. Pilots, paratroopers, career criminals, drifters, men who looked like the composite sketch, men whose families turned them in, men who confessed on their deathbeds. Every single one was cleared, died unconfirmed, or remains inconclusive. The composite sketch shows a man in his mid-40s, olive complexion, dark hair, dark eyes, medium build. One flight attendant said he looked like a businessman who flew regularly. Another said he seemed almost bored. Investigators believe he had some knowledge of the Pacific Northwest geography. He knew a 727 had an aft air stair that could be lowered mid-flight, a fact most passengers would never know. He knew parachuting. He knew how to handle pressure. He was not a random man acting on impulse. This was planned. Over the years, investigators have zeroed in on a few profiles. A military veteran, possibly special forces, possibly Vietnam era with parachute training. Someone who studied the terrain. Someone who did this not out of desperation, but out of cold, calculated audacity. The FBI's own working theory before they suspended active investigation in 2016 was that Cooper likely did not survive the jump. The terrain was brutal. The weather was brutal. He was jumping at night, in the rain, over dense wilderness, at low altitude with unknown wind conditions. But here's the thing about that theory. They never found a body. And in cases like this, in the wilderness, in the Pacific Northwest, decades later, the absence of a body proves nothing. It doesn't prove he survived. It doesn't prove he died. It just proves that whatever happened, it happened out of sight, out of reach, and completely beyond our ability to verify. The FBI officially suspended active investigation into D.B. Cooper in July 2016, 45 years after the hijacking. The case file runs to thousands of pages. The suspect list stretches into the hundreds. The theories are endless. But here's what endures beyond the investigation. America loves D.B. Cooper. Not because hijacking is romantic, but because in a country built on reinvention, on the idea that anyone can disappear into the frontier and become someone new, D.B. Cooper pulled it off. He walked onto a plane as nobody. He walked off as a ghost. He became a folk hero. Songs were written, movies were made. A town in Washington hosts an annual D.B. Cooper Festival. Bars sell cocktails named after him. People still search the forests. And somewhere, in the wilderness, in an unmarked grave, or perhaps in a quiet retirement somewhere no one ever thought to look, the truth sits undisturbed. 53 years later, The FBI's most wanted skyjacker remains exactly what he was on the night he jumped. A man with no face, no name, and no story anyone can prove. This is the dossier. We pull back the curtain on the events the world forgot, or never knew. Subscribe. Because the truth is always stranger than the headline.